Welcome to the College Basketball Pub Hub. It's Saturday. It's February the 4th. Ian Cameron, Conor, Mac, Daby, Cab. We're here for the Saturday College Basketball Card. And this is really one Saturday where college basketball truly takes center stage, really. I mean, NHL's on All-Star break. There's no NFL football the week before the Super Bowl. It really is college basketball as the headliner today. So, huge Saturday, as always. Let's get right to it. UConn, Georgetown, classic Big East matchup here to get it rolling. This is a noon Eastern tip-off. The first few games are at noon. So, as usual, we start with the early games. We've got UConn here right now, about a 13.5 point road favorite. 146.5 is the total in this game. UConn has definitely felt the Big East road. It was a lot tougher than the road they were traveling before, as this team is just 3-6 in their last 9 games. But they are off one of their better performances of late against DePaul on the road, a 90-76 victory. The offense just could not be stopped in that game. It was 26 points from the star guard, Jordan Hawkins. Adama Sanogo in the low post chips in with 25. They get 21 from Tristan Newton. So it was a nice balanced effort from the UConn Huskies in that victory. We'll see if they can keep it going here against Georgetown. Georgetown sucks. I mean, in terms of the win-loss record, they're losing games left and right, but don't look now. They're covering numbers. They're getting double digits as dogs most games, and they've gone 5-0 ATS their last 5 games. And I still don't necessarily fully trust UConn laying 13 on the road. Let's keep in mind the DePaul cover was barely, only by a few points. Georgetown's actually covered each of the last 2 meetings against UConn. Earlier this season, they were 22-point dogs to get Big East play started, and they lost that game by 11. Here they're getting a healthy number, 13.5. It's dogging over for me if I'm betting this game. It would be Georgetown with the points. It would probably be the over as well. I mean, both of the meetings, actually 4 straight meetings have gone over. UConn has started to trend in that direction. Defense has definitely lapsed for them. 5 of the last 6 UConn games have gone over the total. So it would be the dog in the over if I'm betting this one. What do you think here, Conor, Mac?
Yeah, I think this game can get over the number. Early morning, though, always scares me a little bit. But this Georgetown defense is not good at all. You mentioned it. I think Coyne just said it. Maybe Georgetown or split this, but first half is where I look. This seems UConn could just be kind of coasting real early here. So I'd look first half with Georgetown. Even though I think full game they could probably cover as well. And UConn, you mentioned it. They got the cover, by a couple points there against DePaul. I'm not impressed. They need to do a lot more, but this is a very big game for them. I think they know they win it, but I'd stay away. I'd be on Georgetown or nothing.
Yeah, the only thing I caution with looking first half only is that the last game against Creighton, they had a horrible first half, and it was the second half they played better, and they ended up covering the.
Yeah, you can always split it then. I mean, for the most part, they've been a better first half team. Oh, definitely. But you're right. Hey, college basketball.
Yeah.
These halves are wild swing.
We've seen it time and time again. So that's the way I would.
You don't have to tell me.
Yeah, I wouldn't go fully on the first half. I would, if you're going to get involved in the first half, split it with the full game. That's what I do. What do you think here, Daby Cab?
Man, I think there's a couple ways to look at this, because I think that I noticed somebody in the chat. Shoot, who was it? Somebody said they think Georgetown covers, but they don't know if it's for them. And I think that you guys kind of gave the same vibe. And I think the same thing too. I think Georgetown probably does cover this game. I think if we really don't want to get involved with Georgetown and we feel like we miss a first half opportunity bet with Georgetown, well, then maybe we can take UConn second half or UConn live when they get down in this game. That's another way to look at it here. This Georgetown team is a defense that is number 297th in effective field goal percentage. They're number 332 in turnover rate, so they're not really creating any turnovers, and they can't shoot threes. 335th in 3-point percentage. And UConn is a big team, and they bully people down low. They've got some size to them. So yeah, I mean, and I guess one thing I'll say too real quick about the Hoyas is their offense has been getting better. I know how bad they've been in the last couple seasons, but they have been known to cover first half spreads, and their offense has been getting better and better. They're above average right now. Spears, he's been leading them with 16.8 points per game, and he's been really good. 5.3 assists also, so he moves the ball around. They've got a few other people averaging double digits. Maybe Georgetown first half and look to live bet UConn here, but I'm off.
All right, Battle of Virginia, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, pick 'em -1 at home, 129 the total. The Hokies are 2-0 straight up in ATS at home since they got their lineup fully healthy again. 3 straight overs as well for Virginia Tech. That's kind of the way I would lean here too, is over the total. I mean, they're betting the under, but it's down to 128.5, 129. I worry that we see something like we saw Virginia Syracuse. I still can't get that game out of my mind. I'll have no idea how that game stayed under when it was, I think, in the 80s at halftime, but it did. I would still lean over, though. It's a very low total. It's a Virginia Tech team that's trending that way a little bit. If you look at the head-to-head meeting earlier this year, it also flew over the total. It was also in the 120s, and it ended up with 146 points in that game, 78-68 for Virginia. So I also like the Hokies here. I think they return the favor. This has been a home court dominated series. The home team has won and covered each of the last 4 meetings. Virginia Tech has won and covered each of the last 2 times they've hosted Virginia. And I think this is probably, when they're fully healthy, one of the better Virginia Tech teams in recent memory. And of course, Virginia had some really good teams in the last few years. So I think Virginia Tech can win this game at home. I would look at them at a pick. What do you think, your C-Mac?
Yeah, me too. I'm just not gonna, bet this game. I don't think so, with everything going on. I just, throughout the year, I mean, they're off this loss to Miami, where they kind of just folded late. You mentioned it real quick on the total. I'm not going to mess with it. It's gotten over. Virginia Tech's just been pretty good to this over. What did they hit? 8 out of 9, something like that. But home team's been good. The favorite's been good. I had a free bet. I'd take Virginia Tech, even though I think Virginia is better. But Virginia Tech, this is a big win for them. They need a nice signature win against a quad 1 team here in Virginia. I just don't trust them, so I'm going to be off. All
right, Cab.
Yeah, I love you guys' breakdowns, man. I agree. I think Virginia's a better team. I think Virginia Tech might be situational here. Man, Couture's been a huge difference for them. 2 of their last 3 games, they put up 80 or more points, and that's just simply because of him. And I think I talked about this. I don't know if it was last Saturday or when it was, but I know it's only like a little over 10 points that he puts up, but it's a big change for the offense to have that guy to dish it to on the perimeter. I mean, it really makes a difference for their offense. But you look at Virginia, man, they've just been dominant. 7 consecutive wins right here? Most of them haven't been close either, beating Wake Forest, Boston College, Syracuse. On the road, this team's been great. I think they're 5-2 on the road, and they've won their last 3 on the road. So it's kind of a pick your poison with 2 teams that have been overvalued all season. Virginia 8-11 ATS and Virginia Tech 8-14 ATS. I think this line's right where it should be, which I'd find it hard for anybody to disagree. So I'm off.
All right, we go to next game on the slate. Michigan State, Rutgers here in the Big Ten. It is Rutgers 4.5 up to 5 now. Home favorites total in this game 126.5. Not a lot of points expected. You could probably understand why. I mean, especially for Michigan State on the road, they've had some really bad shooting performances away from East Lansing. Won't get any easier here facing the Rutgers team, which is very good, obviously, at the defensive end of the floor at home. They're coming off a 90-55 beatdown over Minnesota, just destroyed the Gophers in that game. We told you, that's a game to lay the points coming off the loss at Iowa, and Rutgers just dismantled Minnesota in that game. And like I said about Michigan State, this is not a team I trust on the road. The only road win they've had in Big Ten play in the new year was against a very, very meandering Wisconsin team. At Illinois, a loss and failed to cover. Indiana, same thing. Purdue, same thing. So they have really had some ugly road performances. Meanwhile, I think Rutgers has some good basketball in them. They've won and covered each of the last 2 times they've hosted Michigan State. Yeah, pretty cut and dried, pretty straightforward for me to decide to go ahead and lay the 4.5 here with Rutgers, and that's what I've done. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, home team's dominated in this series. Rutgers, this defense, I just think keeps getting better and better. It's stretched to 5, but that's the only way. Rutgers at the rack. I'd lay it the 4.5, 5. And I don't mess with the total, even though I think it could stay under. This is, one of those ones Rutgers could cover this short number and it could go under because Michigan State could only score 50 here, maybe. So, yep, I like it. Rutgers.
Yeah, man, I don't go against. I'm going to keep mine short here. I don't go against Rutgers at home, so I don't care. Never mind. I'm not even going to ask that question. Yeah, I don't go against it. Rutgers at home or even close to home. So I'm off this game. I can go into it. I mean, Michigan State won the first matchup against these 2 teams. Probably a different game at home against Michigan State. I do actually lean Michigan State here, but again, I don't go against Rutgers at home, so I'm not playing it.
All right, nothing wrong with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So there we go. Thank you, tongue tied. That's what I was going to say. I didn't want to. That's closer to Rutgers still, but technically it's a neutral site today. No.
Madison Square Garden. Now, let me just double check. Yeah, you're right. Neutral. I'm just seeing it now.
Okay.
I
It
Oh,
is
it
closer
is.
to Rutgers.
I
but
totally looked over that. Yeah, Madison Square Garden.
So
I'm
did
seeing
I.
it now. So I still like Rutgers here. I do.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Give me
A little
the under.
different,
I like the under better.
There you go.
It is a little different. It is a little different with it being at MSG, but I still like Rutgers. Price is cheap, in my opinion. It's still technically going to be close to a road game for Michigan State. And
That's where they struggle.
Yeah.
They just
Really
struggle
tough.
to shoot it. At home, they're just been a different team. So
Yep,
I don't
it's
blame
pretty amazing. Look, and plus, I like the fact too that Michigan State beat Rutgers at home, by 13 earlier this year. Rutgers is ready for this game, and I still think Rutgers is the better team. So I still like it. Regardless of venue change, I still like the Scarlet Knights here. All right, Kansas, Iowa State. We've got Kansas 1.5 point road favorites, 134.5 the total in this game. It's amazing that Kansas has taken money because pick them to -1.5 now as road favorites. Even though this is an undefeated home team in Iowa State here, they have not lost at Hilton Coliseum. Going into this game here against Kansas. Kansas narrowly clipped Iowa State 62-60 last month when they played at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Kansas, look at their situation. It is worth noting they've got some players banged up. The key one, of course, being Kevin McCullough Jr., although it does look like he is going to play in this one for the Kansas Jayhawks. So keep that in mind. Looks like he'll be good to go for them. On the Iowa State side of the equation, an absolutely stunning loss, I guess is the best way to put it. Up by 20 at one point on the road against Texas Tech Monday night. They end up losing in overtime, 80-77. And that's on the heels of that 78-61 loss at Missouri. So, if you're Iowa State, you're certainly happy to be back home with some of that Hilton magic you're hoping for, knowing how well you've played there. I think if you're looking at current form, just the last, splice out the last, 2 or 3 games, I think you've got to say Kansas has been a little bit better in terms of form, definitely. But, you're talking about a team that's just so good at home. They're now a slight home dog. I can't lay points on the road with Kansas in this venue against this team that's so good at home. I can't do it. So Iowa State or nothing for me. What do you think, Connor? Good one here in the Big 12. Early start, Kansas, Iowa State.
Yeah, Kansas playing a bit better. Iowa State, you mentioned it, the 20-point lead, they blow it. This seems like the spot, though, for them back here at home where they've been so good. This one thing has kept me, in the last few years, this Iowa State team's been good. They can't beat Kansas. That's just stuck in my head. I think this is totally, this is why, in the end, I think I'm going to be off as much as I want Iowa State, and I think they could win. It's just, to me, a flip, kind of a coin flip, because I do think Kansas could go in there and win. But I'll be off. If I had a free bet, I'd take Iowa State. I can't get over. They can't beat them.
And it has been 7 straight victories for the Kansas Jayhawks over the Iowa State Cyclones. Cab, what do you think?
Yeah, so I love that you guys touched on that. So now I'm not even going to worry about it here. This is one of the things that I like. I know this is one of those I could definitely see people putting it as a coin flip, and I've actually got people who I respect that are good cappers who I know are on Iowa State. I took Kansas. I took a -120 on the money line in the first half, and I took a -105 in the full game. Iowa State's been a little inconsistent this year. I know they're better at home, but still on offense, they've been inconsistent. 3-point percentage at 35.3%, which isn't bad, but they go cold at times. 2-point percentage, 51.7. They've struggled with turnover issues. And I want to touch real quick on Kansas because, we talk about their offense, which Jalen Wilson has been, outstanding. And if people haven't been paying attention, I mean, this kid is, he's going to be good in the NBA. He's been a lot of fun to watch. And he's been putting up, 20 points, in the most recent games, but I'm trying to find their defensive numbers right here. And then of course we could talk about Grady Dick. But Kansas's defense, man, is very, very, very aggressive. And I think this is a good spot. They're going to know that Iowa State only lost by 2 in Lawrence. They're not going to forget that. This is a big game for Kansas, just like it is for Iowa State. I like Kansas here. I doubled down on them. So.
All right, liking Kansas here, first half and full game. And again, 7 straight victories in the series for the Jayhawks. All right, UCF and Cincinnati. Cincinnati, 6.5 point home favorites, 137.5 being the total in this one. It's an interesting matchup here. You've got Cincinnati's been excellent at home, 11-3 straight up, 10-4 against the spread at home. It's been a pretty good home court. It's held up pretty well for this Bearcats team. We'll see if that continues here against UCF. Bottom's kind of fallen out for UCF. 4 straight losses, both straight up in ATS against Tulane, South Florida. South Florida, they lost outright as favorites. Houston, and then they lost outright as home favorites against Temple in their last game. So it has been a struggle for UCF. Make no mistake about it. When you look at their game recently, the defense has collapsed. They've gone 5. The last 6 have gone over because of that. And we'll see if they can shore things up on the defensive end here in this game. But definitely, this has not been a team that's played as well lately. I think when you look at the way they've played during this stretch, it's just been really blame it on a team that's been solid defensively for a long time, and it's just not been the same lately. Cincinnati off a beatdown over Tulsa, 81-55. They're looking to keep it rolling here in this game. It is worth noting here, series history going back to 2020 between these two teams. UCF has won 3 of the last 4 and covered all 4. So I know they're betting the hell out of Cincinnati. UCF struggling, I get it. And from a road standpoint, they're 2-3 straight up, 2-3 against the spread on the road. I'd be careful laying 6.5 now. UCF's had a good recent history against Cincy. I think the number's getting a little high. I know, but the one thing that might keep me off is I don't like backing teams that are in this ATS free fall. When you haven't covered 4 or more games in a row like UCF, I don't like being that person that says, okay, today's the day they snap the skid. I want to see evidence of them snapping it. Then I back them the next game, maybe. So I think I'm going to pump the brakes. I lean to the Knights, but I'm going to pump the brakes and probably pass. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, well, that's what everyone sees too, with all the bettors. That's why Cincinnati's getting pumped here. I think 6.5 though. This is creeping out too much. And a Cincinnati team that's been pretty good, with the number and laying it this year. But I never feel safe laying points with this team. I just never have the way they play. I think UCF now at 6.5 could hang around here. The OT with Temple was tough, and they lose by 7, and they hung around there against Houston, even though they lost by 11. Yeah, especially this touch of 7. I'm going to look at UCF.
All right, liking the UCF side. I got to admit, there is value. It's just, can they snap this little skid? What do you think here, Cap?
I think that it's so important to pay attention to the line movement, because I think there's a chance that both of us could cash on this game. I got Cincinnati at 4.5. It's a different fucking game at 7. It's a completely different spread. I mean, it's almost double the spread if you think about it. Central Florida started off this season hot, but since then their offense has cooled down. They're only putting up 72 points per game on 42.9% shooting, which that's 274th, so a little below average there. They do shoot their free throws well, and they do shoot well from deep. But this Cincinnati defense has been stellar. And their senior guard, Landers Noli, he's putting up 15.7 points per game. He's been a lot of fun to watch. I've had success getting on and off this Cincinnati team at the right time, or going against them at the right time this year. And today I went back and forth. I bet it last night, but I went back and forth with the 2.5 first half or the full game. And I just went ahead and went full game here at home, 4.5. But again, if that line's not available, I don't endorse a 7. That's a different bet, or a 6.5.
All right, next up, we've got Davidson and UMass. Davidson 1-point road favorites, 141.5 is the total in this game. I ain't laying points on the road with this Davidson squad. Not right now. 1-6 straight up in the last 7 games. On the road, they've been very weak. Against Dayton. They've covered some numbers, but they've been getting a good amount of points. You got to trust them to win here. They lost to VCU, George Mason, Dayton on the road. The only road win was against LaSalle, one of the worst teams in this A-10 conference. UMass on the other side, it's a team that pretty talented. They've got some scoring. They're not always great defensively under Frank Martin here, but certainly offensively they're very good, and we've seen that in their last 2 home games. 85 on the board hosting Richmond, they won and covered. 87 against a solid Duquesne team, they won and covered. I know they're on an under streak here, Davidson, but UMass has been scoring at home. This total looks a little bit light considering what we've seen in some of the recent head-to-head meetings. We saw 144 last year between these two teams. We saw 135 the year before that. But the last meeting was 144. So total's been bet down. I might go against that. As far as the side goes, I mean, it's got to be for me UMass +1 at home. I mean, they've looked very solid their last two home games. Davidson hasn't done anything on the road of quality except a win against a bad LaSalle team, which isn't saying much. So it would be UMass. It would be over for me in this game. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, I don't want anything in this game. I don't want UMass, the injuries. They've been up and down as of late. I don't know if Lawyer goes. He's sick. It looks like for David. And I don't want Davidson. Flip it on them. I do not want them. You talked about it. And the total, I don't want it. Dead nuts under. It's Davidson. UMass plays. When they can score, the game would get over. But they've struggled at times with these injuries, and they might not have the scoring. Yeah, I'm off.
I'll probably buy out of the over if Lawyer doesn't go, because that's 15 points out of your lineup for Davidson. That's huge, obviously, from an offensive standpoint. If he doesn't play, I'm going to like UMass even more because, I think that this is already a team that struggles to score at times. 59 points in their last game, Davidson. They couldn't get anything going. So, yeah, it'll make UMass, I think, maybe an even stronger look if he doesn't go. What do you think here, Cap?
I'm off, but I'll reinforce what you just said. This Davidson team sucks at scoring. They're not just bad; they're terrible. 69.5 points per game. That's 232nd. They're shooting 44.2%. That's 207th. 31.8% from beyond the arc, which is 303rd. Just not good. A little above average on free throws, so there's that. They're not good on the boards. 300th in rebounding, with averaging only 29.6. So yeah, I'm off this game.
All right, nothing for Cab. It's funny because you know what? You're right. This is by far, you never worried about this team's ability to score. They've always been an excellent offensive team, move the ball well, never had any issues in that regard. Then the old man retires, Bob McKillop, and now all of a sudden this team's just dropped off the face of the earth offensively. Do we blame the son? Do we blame the kid? Matt McKillop is the son of Bob who's taken over? Or do we just say maybe they're not as talented? I don't know. To me, Bama boy, that's exactly it. I think they missed the old man because they never had offensive struggles like this, ever. Like he coached there for a shit ton of time, like decades at Davidson. They never had any issues scoring. They were always consistently 75 point per game, upwards closing on 80 every single game. And you're not seeing that out of Davidson this year, not even close. So, yeah, they do miss, I think, Bob McKillop as well. I think the son is maybe not a chip off the old block. Maybe there is a real downgrade going from father to son here in terms of the head coach with this Davidson team. All right, next up, we go to Wake Forest and Notre Dame. It's Wake Forest 3-point road favorites, 148.5 the total in this one. I actually don't lay points on the road very often, but I do like Wake a little bit here. Now, the road record for Wake's been a little spotty. I get it, but Notre Dame, I don't think this team's good at all. Good for you. You won and covered against Louisville. Who cares? Louisville's just, dreadful. I think if you look at this game here, there's a winnable game for Wake. They've kind of been struggling. They've been right there in so many games. I mean, they're due to just, put their foot down and beat somebody and maybe beat somebody up. Because the last three games, they could have beat Pitt, fell short. Could have beat NC State at home, fell short. Could have beat Duke. I mean, right there with Duke down to the wire, they lost by 2 at Cameron Indoor earlier this week. I think Wake is just the better team. I don't think they're going to take Notre Dame lightly because they're on a 4-game losing streak. So you got the better team that I don't think is going to look past this opponent. And to me, they're the much better team. And they're only laying 3. I'll lay the 3 with Wake here. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, they need a win here. And this is the team to get it against is Notre Dame. I mean, that's rough. All 3 of those losses, 2-point. And I'm not going to go, even though I think they could win this game. This is Cab here. First half, I think jump out on top of them. And that's the only bet I want to take with Wake. And also that last game push, both these teams have been great to the over. I think you just ride it, Wake's 10, 11 in a row. Yep. Notre Dame's been very good as well. Even though it's 149, I think, both teams can get in the 70s, maybe even touch 80. So not only I'll take Wake first half, I will be on this over.
The over, yeah. Absolutely, you're right. Absolutely. Can you believe they're betting it under as well? I mean, all Notre Dame's going over every game just about. Wake's been going over like 8 or 9 or 10 straight now. Yet here's the betting markets betting the total down from 151 to 149 in this game. It's
Yeah,
crazy the way the betting markets work sometimes.
yeah. I think they just think this is maybe a little bit high.
Yeah,
We're starting to almost get to 150, so there's a little
yeah.
bit, buyback to bring it down. I thought the same, but man, I've been just riding those overs with Wake. They've been money.
Top 75 free throw shooting percentage teams as well, both teams. So that definitely helps the over
That
as
helps
well.
late.
Yeah,
You're right.
definitely. Absolutely it does. Cab, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, C-Mac already said it. I am on Wake Forest first half here, and I might lay it with them. I've gone back and forth between going full game. Also, we've been at this spot where we've been saying, "Oh, Wake needs to win this one" a couple times here, and close losses, and I've stayed off of them. But this isn't the spot where I'm staying off. On offense, they don't have any problems. They fire on all cylinders. Tyree Appleby, he does a good job leading them, 18.1 points per game. They're 57th in offense, 78th in shooting percentage. Where they struggle is defense. Wake Forest defense has been terrible, which is what kind of like helps support the over. So when you look into the Fighting Irish, their offense, they're putting up 70.7 points per game. That's 203rd, 45.3% from the field. That's 145th. So a little above average. They shoot great from deep, 38th. Basically, I just think this is a spot where Wake Forest lackluster defense will be all right because Notre Dame's. I think there's a lot of points here, and I think that Wake Forest wins and covers.
Real quick to Kevin. I mean, first half is fine, but I'll go full game because, like you talked about, the fouls late. They shoot it well. That could just like carry on this game, just in case if there's all those free throws. But I don't mind the first half. I mean, if you're looking at that.
Yeah,
Over.
definitely. Yeah, this is one of those games that I find that it's dicey when you say I'm only going to bet the second half or I'm only going to bet the first half. I think it's always for me if I'm in that spot, I look split it at least first half, full game because you never know. It could be they show up first half and then don't in the second half, or vice versa. They get off to a slow start and then they get the troops rallied at halftime and then they make their run. So that's why I always like splitting it. Personally.
One thing that doesn't really help for people, but at the end of the day, not to be rude, but at the end of the day, our bank accounts are what's the most important. That matters more than anything. And a lot of times with the first half, if the team doesn't cover and I'm watching the game, it's a good opportunity to make a second half bet or to live bet it if I want to. I know that doesn't help for this or for posting, but we've got some smart motherfuckers in this chat. By the way, shout out to you guys. Hit the like button. But that's what I'm saying. If you do go first half, don't think like that. You have opportunities to bet throughout the game. Also, that's all I was getting at.
Yeah, definitely. Live betting can be your friend. Absolutely, no question. All right, we go to Georgia Tech, NC State. NC State is currently big number here, 15 in this one, 15 and a half, 143 and a half the total. I actually laid the points with the Wolfpack. I did. And I don't like laying points of this magnitude very much, but I mean, they're just horrendous. I think they've let go of the rope, honestly. I think Josh Pastner's done. I think he's finished at Georgia Tech. He ain't going to come back. If this season continues to go off the rails like it is right now, he ain't coming back next year. Not a chance. They've been non-competitive. They can't score. They can't put a ball in the ocean right now. 51, 43, and 58 in their last 3 games. I guarantee you, if they don't crack 60 in this game, NC State's covering. Because NC State can absolutely fill it up and light it up offensively. 85, 79, and 94 in the beatdown against Florida State. Man, was I off on that game thinking Florida State could hang around? My gosh, NC State
beat down, bro. Hey, Florida State though has been playing better. They had a 1-point loss to Clemson, and they beat them 9 times in a row. So maybe NC State desperately wanted it. So shit happens. But
they've been flying over the total. Georgia Tech's been the opposite, obviously, with their offensive struggles. So I want nothing to do with the total. I'm just going to stick with NC State here. I mean, will there be a look at the only thing you worry about is they play Virginia coming up next. Is that a look ahead? I don't know. I don't even know if Georgia Tech's good enough to take advantage of an opponent that might be in a look ahead spot because that's how fucking putrid they've been. So for me, I laid the 15 with NC State. Don't do this very often, but that's how bad Georgia Tech is. They could easily lose this game by 20. Like, they will lose this game by 20 if they don't break 60, which is something that's happened in 3 straight games for the Yellow Jackets. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, and they could get over that, but I still look at their team total under. And I'm with you. I'm not going to be involved, but I'd lay it or just pass.
All right, Cab.
Yeah, I'll be quick on this one too. it's Wolfpack or pass, right? You talk about motivation. Georgia Tech doesn't give a fuck. NC State should be highly motivated for this game. So it's them or pass. I'm off. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. There is that element that it kind of feels like they played the perfect game against Florida State. And sometimes you don't want to be backing a team when they just played like maybe the perfect game, the flawless game. But I still think, you lay it with NC State or you don't bet the game. Simple, because of Georgia Tech, toxic situation. All right, Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. We've got Vanderbilt 4.5-point home favorites, 137 the total in this game. Ole Miss, I mean, here's another coach, and this is unfortunate. Josh Pastner, good riddance, because I think he's overrated. But as far as Kermit Davis is concerned, I feel bad for this guy. He actually, I think, is a quality coach, and he's just ran into a tough season here. I don't think the talent is as good here at Ole Miss as we've seen in the past. They've had some injuries earlier in the year that didn't help either. It's just been a rough year, no question, for the Rebels here in the SEC. I thought their effort. See, Georgia Tech, they look like a team that's quitting, that's tapping out. I can't say that about Ole Miss after the last game. Ole Miss gave Kentucky a battle. They were in the game. They kept trying to battle back. They lost by 9. They ended up failing to cover, which is good because I was on Kentucky there. And I've been fading Ole Miss a lot. But now they're playing a team that they're going to actually go into this game thinking, you know what, this is actually a team we might be able to beat. And that's a different kind of motivation for a bad team. When you actually say, hey, this opponent's not really that much better than us, we actually might be able to win this thing. I wouldn't be rushing to fade Ole Miss today, especially getting 4.5, 5. And who are we to trust Vanderbilt as favorites right now? The last time Vanderbilt was favored, Conor Mack, was 10-point favorites against South Carolina. They won that game in overtime by 5. Barely lucky to escape. So they're not a team to lay points with. So do I like Ole Miss enough to bet them? No, but I lean Ole Miss. But I'll be passing. Connor, what do you think?
I agree. Vandy's at home here, and they should get bounced back after their ass whipping. But I'm not laying forward. They're a team that shouldn't. I don't want to lay points with this time of year. I looked at this total too. I'm gonna maybe look at it a little more, but I leaned under. But I don't know if it's enough for me to get there.
All right, nothing wrong with that. We move along here to Texas Tech and Baylor in the Big 12. Texas Tech, what a miraculous comeback that was over the weekend. Exceptional to come back and beat Iowa State like that, down 20, left for dead. Now they're getting 9.5, 10 on the road against Baylor here, 143.5 being the total in this game. This is a team I've had my eye on, and last week I cashed a ticket with them against LSU in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, and I said that if this team, uses that win as a springboard, be careful. And look, they didn't start well against Iowa State, but the fact that they came back, they rallied all the way back from 20-point deficit and won that game in overtime. It's a confidence booster. Make no mistake about it for this Texas Tech team. And now you look at this matchup here. You go on the road against Baylor. You've actually matched up against Baylor pretty well since the beginning of last year. They won both regular season meetings against Baylor last year. Earlier this season, January 17th, remember, that was when Texas Tech was still losing every single game, and they were in a lot of close games. They just couldn't get over the hump. They lost 81-74 to Baylor at home in that game. This is that classic angle that I've talked about on all the shows throughout the week on Net Profit. You've got a team that was at home that lost, that is now on the road in the rematch in revenge and as a road underdog. And the road underdog in that spot is like hitting it almost 60% long-term over the last 20 years ATS in college basketball. So that says bet Texas Tech here. And I am betting Texas Tech here, 9.5, 10. I like Baylor. I've been on Baylor a ton, playing some really nice basketball here these last several games. I've been on Baylor a ton. And they're off that loss against Texas, 76-71. You could say, hey, they're back home. They'll bounce back. The last time they were at home, they beat Arkansas. They didn't cover, though. They only won by 3. I think we have a close game here. I really do. I'm taking the points here with Texas Tech, 9.5, 10 in this one. It's just one of those plays where you got the home team losing the first meeting, road dogs in the rematch in revenge. It's been a good angle. That says bet the Red Raiders here. What do you think here, Cab?
I got nothing against what you said. This is a tough cap here on this one for me. Where we're looking at like 74.8 points per game for Tech. Their offense has been inconsistent, up and down. When they're on, they've been great. This is a tough spot, like you said. I know that Baylor won and covered on the road in the first matchup. I think they won by 7, and now you're getting 9.5. I'm off this game, man. I could make a case for either side. So for that reason, I'm off.
All right, Conor Mack, Texas Tech Baylor.
Yeah, bingo. I think Baylor wins, but I don't know about 9.5. I think Texas Tech's been playing a little bit better. I don't think they're very good. They haven't been good on the road. They're 2-2 against the number. Yeah, some of these road dogs, I just got to stay away from Texas Tech. I mean, they could get it done today, or they could, lose by 15. So I'm off.
All right, next up, we've got Florida State and Louisville. In the ACC, we've got Louisville or Florida State, 5.5-point road favorites, 140. I laid it with Florida State. I didn't even think twice. 5.5 Florida State. That's embarrassing what happened against NC State, but that's not even close to as embarrassing as Louisville's been this entire fucking season, as far as I'm concerned. So Florida State bounced back. Yeah, Florida State bounced back. I know, yeah. So, and I think this is the spot here for Florida State. Remember, Florida State was playing well. The Clemson loss was a tough one. They could have won that game, and before that, they were playing better. So, I think Florida State here gets the job done in this one and bounces back. Conor, what do you think?
I do think they bounce back and probably cover, but I don't want it. So, take it away, Cab.
All right, Cab.
Yeah, I got you. One thing, if you're looking for, on a bounce back, I like looking at the fact that the Seminoles shot 48.1% from the floor, and, on the season, they're shooting under that. They're shooting 44% at 227th. They're putting up 69.7 points per game. I agree with you. When I looked at this game, the first thing I thought was that I wanted Florida State, maybe in the first half, but I haven't bet it either, so I'm not going to go too much more into this one. Louisville, they're only putting up 62.7 points per game. That's 346th. That's about as bad as it gets. 41.3% shooting, 325th. Again, almost as bad as it gets. This Louisville team is awful. I think Florida State is bad, but not awful, and I think Louisville's awful, so I get it.
All right, next up as we continue along here, we've got Auburn and Tennessee in the SEC. It is Tennessee 9.5-point home favorites, 133.5 the total in this game. Tennessee returns home following a loss to Florida over the in the middle of the week. I was on Florida. I said I think Florida can hang in this game. I didn't expect Florida to win sets by double digits though, 67-54, but Tennessee was just stifled at the offensive end, 19 of 68. I think it had to have been one of their worst shooting games of the season, without a doubt. Really, they got 15 points from the great guard Ziegler, but outside of that, not a whole lot of secondary support. And it was a rough shooting night. Vescovy was terrible shooting the ball, especially for Tennessee. So we'll see if Tennessee bounces back. I always like to see when a team loses, and Tennessee hasn't had many losses. They're 18-4 this year. How do they respond after a defeat, after a setback? Well, the last time we saw Tennessee losing against Kentucky, they bounced back. They won and covered on the road against Mississippi State, 70-59. Auburn coming off a big win against Georgia, 94-73. But, on the road, this team has lost to Georgia. They beat Ole Miss, who are struggling. They beat LSU, who are no good. South Carolina's no good. And then they lost to West Virginia in their last road game. So all the road performances that are any good for Auburn have come against shit, essentially in terms of quality teams. So I wouldn't want to step in front of Tennessee here in this spot off a loss. But do I want to lay 9.5? I don't know, but I'd lean home favorite here. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, in Auburn, the defense hasn't looked as good the last 3 or 4 games. Their games have gone over. I think this is Tennessee back home. And how about Tennessee? Classic Rick Barnes, just laid an egg. Team played bad. I think we'll see that come tournament time.
It'll happen in March, trust me.
Yeah, it'll happen. Auburn, though, is just this rivalry. They've really, I don't know, it's the matchup. They play Tennessee well. Because it's a bounce back for Tennessee, I think, here. As much as I want to take the 9.5 with Auburn, I just don't think I get there today.
I laugh every year that there's people that buy in and start drinking the Kool-Aid with Tennessee. Like, do you not watch this sport in March every year? This team and this coach, like they fucking spit the bit every single year in March. Where is the run that they ever? Everyone says this is the year they can make a deep run, and they never ever make a deep run, and they're out usually the first weekend most times.
Yeah. The coaching with Barnes, and then it's too like this year, this defense is probably one of the best or top 3 or so in the country. It's going to come down to what happened the other night. They don't shoot it well, and they go down.
Yeah, so it's just funny that even this year I'm seeing people. We should maybe look into some Tennessee futures. Yeah, if you want to burn your money, go for it. What do you think here, Cab?
I just now noticed you, Mills, in the chat. Man, I read the chat as best I can. He was asking, I think he's shouting for your opinion on the over CMAC in the K-State Texas game. Mills was asking.
Wait. I know you're Mills. You watch the show, my guy.
We go
through all the big games.
It's on our list, actually, that game.
We haven't even done it. Hold your horses. I should have been able to answer that. That's on me. Yeah, that's on me. But shout out to our guy Mills for being in there. That's on me. My bad. Man, this Auburn, this is going to be a defensive game for sure. Auburn's defense is impressive. 39th in scoring defense. They're 15th nationally in opposing field goal percentage. 7th in 3-point defense. So Auburn can play defense, and we all know what Tennessee's defense is. I just think that this Volunteers team, 10-1 at home this season, only loss coming against Kentucky. This is, Tennessee's not going to shoot what they did. They're not going to shoot the percentage they shot last game. I think that this is a tough one, but I'd probably be on Tennessee. I'm off the game, though. All
right, Butler, Marquette. Marquette 15.5-point home favorites. 143.5 the total. I'm going to keep it simple. Marquette, I'm laying it. Butler's like Georgia Tech. They're that bad. You can lay doubles against them. You really can. Although, as I'm looking at the schedule, they have a game at UConn coming up. Marquette. That does concern me. That huge game coming up. Do they really hand it to Butler for 40 minutes? They're capable of doing it. Like Butler, there's nothing at all you want to in terms of Butler right now. They can't score. The defense is falling apart. They haven't scored beyond 58 points in 4 straight games, 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread. I do worry a little about that big game coming up Tuesday night at UConn for Marquette, but it would be Marquette or nothing for me. Connor, what do you think?
I'll be quick. Yeah, pass. Can't look at Butler. And Marquette's been nothing but money to me all year long. They just keep winning. So if I had to, I'd lay it.
Much to my chagrin with the Villanova game the other night.
I know they got it done again, and that came down. It seems just kind of flat here a little bit. I mean, I'm going to lay off.
Unfortunately, for Butler, they're so bad. That's probably the only way they can compete in this game. Is they got to hope it's a sleepwalk from Marquette in this game. What do you think, Cab?
Yeah, that's the only way they compete. Butler's putting up 61.1 points per game. That's 300 in the nation. Not good. Defensively, 147, so they're a little bit above average. But when you flip to Marquette, 82.2 points per game this year. That's 14th in the nation. They move the ball around well, 18.3 assists. Unless Marquette's sleepwalking, I don't see what happens here. So maybe get the spread at like I don't know what it would be, like 8.5 or something like that in the first half if you wanted that. I think Marquette probably takes this one.
All right, TCU and Oklahoma State here in the Big 12. We've got Oklahoma State 4-point home favorites in this game. Total sitting at one. Let me just see here, 39.5 across the board. Be careful with TCU. Mike Miles Jr. out for this team, and of course he is a monster impact player for this team. 18.1 points per game for him. And now you got to face a very tough Oklahoma State defense. So bettor's reacting to that. However, I do say one thing, and this is why I'm not going to be on Oklahoma State here. I like TCU too much to bet against them. You know that. I love this team. They've cashed so many times for me. I am concerned Miles against this defense, is going to be tough for TCU. But they were without Miles on earlier this week against West Virginia. And they still won and covered 76-72. This team can still get the job done without him, but this is going to be tougher. Okay, now you're going on the road. Gallagher, Iba Arena can be pretty tough place to play. It's a much better defensive team, Oklahoma State, compared to West Virginia. This is the game where I think, I worry a little bit. You don't have Miles. You got Lampkin's not even 100%. Some of your other guards are going to have to step up, need more from them. It's going to be a lot more difficult. But I ain't going against TCU. They've been too good to me. I did take TCU without Miles against West Virginia. I don't like them as much here, but I'm definitely not going to lay 4 when it opened -1 with Oklahoma State, even though there's reasons to like them, but not at 4, not for me. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, at 1, I get it, miles out, but do you want to lay 4? They are at home, but this Oklahoma State team so good defensively. I like a ton of stuff, but they struggle to shoot it.
Yep.
I don't want to lay points with him, even without Miles, which is a huge hit. He's so good. I still think this TCU team's pretty talented and deep. They still struggle to shoot it from 3, which I think is going to catch up with them. I talk about that, but I don't know. At 4, I just think it's a dangerous spot. Now at 4, if I got even more, I want to look TCU, but it's just I'll be off.
All right, Cab.
Okay, so I'm off, but I'll make it quick. What I would do, I would take the points for TCU in the first half. Look, this is for the full game. I can see the love for Oklahoma State at 13-9 right now. Being in the Big 12, they could still get an at-large bid, maybe, but like they got to go now, like right fucking now. They need to win this fucking game right here, right now. So for and with 2 wins coming off back-to-back wins here. And the defense that they're able to play, when you really need a win bad, I think defense shows up. So I'm off this game for that reason.
All right, we go to the next game on the slate, Tulane and Memphis. Memphis 7-point home favorites, 161. How about this for a huge total between these two teams? Memphis, of course, coming off 5 straight wins for them going into this matchup. We'll see if they can keep it rolling here against Tulane. Remember, Tulane earlier this season against Memphis got the better of this Memphis team, 96-89 in that game. We'll see if Memphis can return the favor. A lot of points in that game. It's over 4 of the last 5 meetings between these two teams. But it's high. I mean, they've really done a nice job adjusting this. I mean, the total in the first meeting between these two teams was only 153.5. It's like 160 here, 161. So they've really jacked this total up, but I understand why they did. Memphis can go over the total when it's a team that plays fast, and certainly Tulane will. I certainly don't want the under. It's just it's very high, but I could only play it over. I don't go against Tulane, though. Tulane's been money in the bank for me. Am I going to take them in this spot? I don't know because, you look at Memphis. They did win by 11 last year. They are in revenge. So for that reason, I may lay off Tulane. But I do lean to the over a little bit. It's just a very high number. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's points. It's just, man, this is up there. I'm off. I kind of looked at Tulane because I like how Memphis is playing, but they're frauds. I don't know how good they are. They beat up on Tulsa, SMU. I'd be leery of laying the 7 with them.
Me too. I mean, like I say, I'd take Tulane before I take Memphis here. What do you think, Cap?
Same. Yeah, I'm somebody who bets Memphis, and I'm not betting them here. Both these offenses are stellar. Memphis 79.8 points, putting them at 28th. I think Tulane's 20th. 81.2. So I get the total. Both these offenses can score. I don't like laying that many points when I think there's going to be that many points in the game.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that. I think it can be tricky for sure. All right, next up we've got Illinois, Iowa in the Big Ten. It is Iowa 2-point home favorites, 153.5 the total here between these two teams. I got to give Iowa some credit. This team is always a team that I think is a little overrated. Not always a team that's great defensively, but they played very well at Carver Hawkeye Arena. They've won 2 straight home games and covered against Northwestern and Rutgers. We'll see if they continue the home success here against Illinois. Last year, Illinois with victories or close win against Iowa, 74-72 last year at Illinois. The year before in Iowa, Illinois got the better of Iowa, 87-83. And Illinois won 5 straight head-to-head against Iowa. So this has been a good matchup for them. They're really playing well. I could only look Illinois plus the points here. Don't know if I will. Iowa's playing well at home. You have to factor that in. As far as the matchup goes, though, you look at the way Illinois has played defensively, excellent. And Iowa's not that same team defensively. I mean, you look at the difference in shooting percentage allowed. Illinois is 26th field goal percentage defense. Iowa's 304th. That's a huge gap. in terms of offensive proficiency between these two teams. So, Illinois has won 5 straight, and I think they're still the better of these two teams. So it could only be the Illini for me, even with Iowa playing well their last 2 home games. As much credit to Northwestern and Rutgers, good wins. Illinois will be a challenge, I think. What do you think, Con?
Yeah, that's how I feel. I think it's just a pass. Iowa a lot better at home. But I think, Illinois is just better. This was a tough game. The total, I'd have to be off as much Iowa. I'd want to be on the over. And I just was. I forget the game. Was it Ohio State? Illinois' defense is really, really good. So I don't know. I'm off. I want nothing here.
All right, Cab.
I think, I think that Illinois' defense will show through. Like you guys are saying, it's really good defense, only allowing 93.2 points per 100 possessions, which is good for 15th. Offensively, they're still good, putting up 75 points a game on 45.3% shooting. When you look at Iowa, I know, led by Chris Murray, he's been great, putting up 20.6 points per game. And then you got McCaffrey right behind him. They've got shooters, but their defense is where it falls off. And I think that Illinois' offense is good enough here to keep this close. I like Illinois. I like them in the first half.
All right, Miami, Clemson. Back to the ACC for this next matchup. Clemson 2-point home favorites, 146.5, 147 the total in this one. Miami pretty much scoring at will. I think they're still scoring right now, actually, Miami against Virginia Tech from that game earlier this week. Man, it was an impressive offensive performance, 92 points for the Hurricanes. And look, they've got a really good guard play led, of course, by Wong. We know that. Excellent player. Jordan Miller, pretty solid as well. No question about that. And they got that transfer, too, from K-State, Nigel Pack. Very solid team, Miami. No question about that. Jimmy Larinaga's got a nice squad. But now they're going on the road. They're 4-4 on the road this year, and they're facing a team that all they do at home is win. And they're coming off a stunning loss against Boston College, 62-54, Clemson in their last game. But I think it might prove to be a wake-up call. They're back home. They've been unblemished at home. They've been excellent here on this home floor. Hard to go against Clemson. Kind of feels like a Clemson spot. Minus 130 money line. They're undefeated at home. They're off a loss. Miami's been at least a little more vulnerable on the road. They're only a 500 road team. It would be Clemson for me here as a short money line favorite here, minus 130. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit here for Clemson back at home. Both these teams shoot it well. To me, this game seems like it's like high 70s, 80s, or it could just be, maybe a struggle because that's how Clemson games have gone lately, just real low, or they can get up and score. And I think they kind of get up and score. So I kind of lean over. I don't know if Galloway's a go here. He's a question mark. So I'll probably be off, even though I lean Clemson a little bit.
By the way, it was a horrible shooting night against BC for Clemson. 28% from three-point range. They turned it over 17 times. Correctable mistakes. So you look at a loss and you say, what happened? 17 turnovers happened. Those are correctable mistakes. Clemson usually doesn't turn it over that many times. Chase Hunter's a good ball-handling guard. He doesn't usually do that. 17 turnovers is a rarity for them. I do like what Brownell said after the game. I didn't do a good job as a coach. Yeah, that's usually the case, man, with you. But I'm not a big Brad Brownell fan, although I do have to admit his team has been pretty solid this year. Nice. And they're obviously at home at Little John Coliseum. They've been absolutely unbeatable, terrific there. And that's what I'm hoping for here today. That home court dominance continues. What do you think, Cab?
Man, we know how I am with it. Miami, 40th in the country on scoring offense, shooting 48.3%. I love watching Wong. That 48.3% puts them at 22nd. And here's the thing: this Clemson team, as good as they've been at home, 11-0, 12-0, 12-0 this season at home. And I know they just slipped against Boston College, but offensively, I think that Miami should be able to run away with this game. I got Miami plus a half a point in the first half, and I took them on the money line in the full game here. Clemson's a good team. I don't think they're as good of a basketball team as Miami. I think Miami's a more complete team, so I'm on Miami.
All right, like in Miami, saying this is loss number 1 at home this year for Clemson.
I'm doing the same thing with Iowa State too, so we'll see.
Yeah. You're going against these powerful home courts, these undefeated home teams. here, and thinking Kansas and Miami, who might actually be the slightly better teams overall, can get the job done. So fascinating handicaps. Two undefeated home teams. Cab going heads up against both of them, Iowa State and Clemson. All right, next up we've got Arkansas, South Carolina. Arkansas 12.5 point road favorites, 136 the total. I'm just going to say, it's Arkansas or nothing, but I'm not ready to lay 12.5 with this team. That is for sure on the road. So it's an easy pass. And I can't endorse South Carolina. I can't, not with what I've seen. What do you think, Connor?
That's how I feel. I can't do it. South Carolina just shoots it too bad. As much as I'd like to take a home dog like this, getting these points, they're just ugly. So I'm off.
Yeah, this game's only on the list because it's a power conference game. I have zero opinion on it. Won't be betting it. Cap, what do you think?
I'll keep it just as short as you guys. Arkansas or pass here. I'm not in the business of laying 12 with Arkansas, but they need to get a road victory here bad. And South Carolina can't fucking score. So Arkansas or pass.
All right, Old Oaken Bucket. Basketball version, Purdue and Indiana here in the Big Ten. We got to pick them here pretty much in this one, and the total currently sitting at around 139.5 in this game. As always with this Purdue team, who's just been absolutely terrific. 9-game win streak. They've even been able to go on the road, beat Michigan State, beat Michigan, although they failed to cover against Michigan. Indiana off the loss at Maryland, but get them here at Assembly Hall. They've been pretty good lately. This Hoosiers team. This is a really good matchup here because I think Indiana's playing some of their best basketball of the year. You got a 6-0 road team, Purdue, 6-0 straight up on the road, and you've got 11-1 at home, Indiana. Something's got to give here in this matchup. Very tough, but I do lean a little to Indiana. I think for Purdue, it's tough when you're, going to keep on going. The longer this win streak goes, the tougher it is to sustain it. They have been very impressive, dominant blowout wins at home against the Spartans and the Nittany Lions in their last 2 games. Can they keep that going here in this one? That remains to be seen. But you look at the recent series history with these two teams. Indiana, believe it or not, has been tough on Purdue last year. And remember, Edey was on the team last year. So these are meaningful results. Last year, Indiana 2-0 ATS against Purdue. They won at home 68-65. And at Purdue, they lost by 2. They were right in that game. They have been a good matchup. Purdue's been a good matchup for Indiana. So I think Indiana would be the side I'd lean with here. I don't love it because just this Purdue team's just been such a machine, but I'd have to lean Indiana, pick them at home, especially 2-0 ATS head-to-head against Purdue last year. What do you think, Con?
Yeah, Purdue's just, they win big, they win ugly, and they're not the best against, the number, even though they're 22-1. I think they, might lose here today. It's just, it seems like you're not getting a bargain here. You know what I mean? You can get a few points with Indiana. I think everyone sees that. So I lean Indiana. Jackson Davis has to be big against Edey. I think he will be. And guys like Comp and Thompson at home have to play big. So yeah, I lean Indiana. I don't know if I bet this game though.
Yeah, it's a hell of a basketball game. It's one of the better ones this afternoon for sure. What do you think, Cab?
I think C-Mac just said the most important thing on this. I think Jackson Davis shows up against Edey. You made the comment big ugly earlier. First thing I thought was Edey when you said big ugly. Man, look, the guy, I know how good he is. He's outstanding, but God, he looks ugly when he takes shots. He looks like such a fucking goof. Look, and I know how good he is. He's absolutely amazing. But I think Trace Jackson Davis might be able to shut him down a little bit here. Not shut him down. That's not the right term. I think he might be able to play with him. I think he might just be a little bit more athletic, a little more mobile of a big guy than Edey's used to. And I think he might be able to play with them. And when you look at these two teams at home, Indiana, I mean, you can look at their average on the year, but at home, they're scoring a lot more points. They're averaging more than 83 points per game at home, making 53% of their shots. That's, just outstanding. They've won 5 of their last 6 and 4 of their last 5 home games. I think I'm on the same page with everyone. I wouldn't go against Indiana here.
All right. Indiana, it looks like we're all leaning in that direction. Alabama, LSU. We've got Alabama, 11.5 point road favorites. 149 is the total in this one. Of course, Alabama, we were fascinated to see what happened against Oklahoma. for that team. It was just such a stunningly bad performance considering how well they have played for much of the conference season. And then they had that Big 12 SEC Challenge game. They got blown out, but boy, did they make up for it. Vanderbilt, they put a 100 spot on the board, 101-44 against Vanderbilt. So clearly they got back on track. It could have just been, you know what, we're playing Oklahoma, below average Big 12 team. It's out of the conference. I don't want to say a throwaway game, but they kind of played it like a throwaway game. Alabama, and the real Alabama showed up against the Alabama we've seen for the majority of the last month or two came back against Vanderbilt. There's just no freaking way I'm taking LSU. There's just no way. I mean, they're that bad. They've lost 9 in a row and 0-8 against the spread. And Alabama already eviscerated this team by 40, 106-66 earlier this year. Now, last year, LSU did beat them at home, but you can't compare last year's LSU to this year. I mean, it's just a horrible team. I think I would just play it over the total, honestly, in this game. Expect Alabama to put a huge number on the board, 80, 90. Hell, they could hit 100 again against this LSU team, and you would need like 50 points, 40, 60 points, maybe, from LSU to get the game over the total, which I think is very possible. So I would stay away from the side, lean Alabama, but I like over 149. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, can't take LSU. I don't want them. This would be a pass. I'd look at LSU, though, their team total. I mean, they just can't score. It's 68.5. I'd look at their under 68.5.
About that. Keep in mind, too, you said liking the LSU team total under. Yeah, that's true. They can't score, yet the last 2 games have gone over. Why? Because the defense has been that bad. So that's what I'm banking on. I'm banking on Alabama to do the heavy lifting. Give me 55 out of LSU. Give me 55 out of LSU. This game's probably going over the total because I think Alabama's going to hit like 96, 98 or something like that. And there's your over. What do you think, Kat?
Well, so I think we agree there that, that Alabama is going to run away with this. And with that under that CMAC just hit on, I mean, LSU is only averaging 67 points per game on the season. So, I mean, hell, they're averaging less than what they're asking for the total against a Alabama team that, look, I don't care how bad they beat them last time. It's Alabama versus LSU. If they can beat them by 40 every time, they're going to beat them by 40 every time. And that would go both ways. Both of these schools want to beat the shit out of each other. And I think that Alabama comes out ready to play against LSU here. I like Alabama as a side. I like LSU team total under. And I got no problem with your over because I think Alabama beats the shit out of them here.
All right, good stuff indeed. Next up, we've got, as we continue along, here it is for our guy MMA Locker Room here, Texas and Kansas State, the game he was asking about. We've got Texas currently in this one around a 1-point road favorite, 150 the total. I mean, I agree with the over. I mean, Kansas State's not a team I say let's bet under. They're an excellent offensive team with Marquise Noel and company. They play with up tempo. It's a very fun team to watch. They're coming off that loss against Kansas. The game flew over the total. They've gone over 5 of the last 7 games, this K-State team. In fact, 7-3 to the over their last 10 games. Texas, on the other hand, they had a 76-71 against Baylor. Now they're going on the road facing Kansas State. Their defense hasn't traveled with them for the most part. 2 of the last 3 games, Iowa State puts up 78, and then Tennessee puts 82 on the board. On the road when Texas went on the road at Tennessee. Look at this series history. 6 straight games have gone over the total. Earlier this year, it was that crazy, insane 116-103 victory at Texas for Kansas State. 119 points scored, or 219 points rather, scored in that game. I don't think we're going to get 219 points today, but give me 151 and I'll be happy because I like the over here. I agree with that MMA Locker Room, and I honestly like K-State. I honestly think even with Texas beating Baylor over the week, we're favoring Texas on the road against this K-State team, a K-State team that's coming to play. They lost against Kansas. They're not going to be in a good mood. It's a good home court there, the Little Apple, Bramlage Coliseum. It's a nice little home court for them. Yeah, I like K-State as well. I can't understand why they're home dogs. We're still disrespecting this team after all this time. What do you think, Conor?
I think they're just thinking they want a little revenge after that wild 116-103, win with all those points that K-State put on Texas. But I don't want Texas. Not really. to me, I think it's K-State or pass. You mentioned the total, but I think it's not going to be in the hundreds this game. Right at 150, I think it's pretty sure. I think this game might be a little bit different and slow down, but it still could get over this number. I mean, both teams play at a quick pace.
Right.
They both can score, so I think it could still get over. But yeah, I think I lean over and lean K-State.
Nasty Nate's right. Hit the like or your grandpa's a pickle washer. There we go. 292 live viewers. Hit the like button on a Saturday morning. Helps us out a lot. Cab, what do you think?
Man, this is such a great game. This game has big implications too. You got Texas at 7-2 in the Big 12, Kansas State at 6-3 in the Big 12.
Yep.
So obviously there's a lot on the line here. And going coming from somebody going against two undefeated teams at home today, going on the road and playing at home is two different things. It makes a huge difference. Kansas State, they might only be 3-4 on the road, but they're 12-0 at home here. And they've just been outstanding at home. I think that if I was going to be on a side here, it would have to be Kansas State. I haven't bet this game though. I'm staying off of it. Something in me wanted to take Texas at first, but I'm off. I'm off this game.
All right, Syracuse and Boston College, ACC matchup. Syracuse, 3.5 point road favorites, 138.5 being the total in this one. Boston College, the upset win for them earlier this week against Clemson. Syracuse, a tough, hard-fought but close loss at home against Virginia on Monday night. We'll see if they can bounce back from that here in this matchup against Boston College. Syracuse has dominated BC. Dominated them, including earlier this year, 79-65 in that one. They've lost 3 in a row. We'll see how they fare here in this. You know what's funny? Road favorites, this is the one role where Syracuse has actually been okay. The last time they were road favorites at Georgia Tech, they won by 17. I kind of feel for Boston College that after beating Clemson like that at home, they might not be able to bring that same level here in this game. And it's still a team that has some struggles at the offensive end of the court. They are a horrible, horrible, horrible three-point shooting team. And that is a problem when you play a team like Syracuse. If you don't make threes against a zone, where are you going to score? Where are you going to score your points if you're not making threes? Because you're not going to get much inside. They're a horrible rebounding team. It's hard to rebound against the zone as it is. I mean, there's a lot of things negatively from a matchup standpoint for BC, and that probably explains why Syracuse has dominated this team the last few meetings. So I actually lean Syracuse here as a slight road favorite. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, I'm off here. I lean Boston College, but Syracuse is desperate for a win, and you want bad. And they just took care of Boston College over the years. But I like how Boston College has been playing, and where a place I like them is at home. Maybe they don't win, but 3.5, I lean with them.
Yeah, Syracuse, Clark, obviously I lean over any Syracuse game, but this one I'm a little more hesitant on. It did go over the first meeting, 144, so if it went over got to 140s, if it gets to 140s this time, it'll go over. I would certainly not play it under. I do lean over. What do you think here, Cab?
Man, I'm off this game. I won't go too much into it. I'm off it. I kind of leaned over, kind of leaned Syracuse, but I'm not, like C-Mac said, where is it right here? Boston College has been good. I think 6-4 against the spread. Even though they're 4-6, their last 10, they're 6-4 against the spread, which is all that fucking matters. Syracuse 7-3 against the spread also. Even though they've gone 5-5, these type of things you just got to pay attention to. Both these teams have been covering the number. I'm off this game.
All right, St. John's and Xavier. Next up, it is Xavier, 8.5 point home favorites. This total was 162.5. It's up to 166 here in this game. Huge move in the total. Xavier continues to be an over machine as well. I think that's a big part in it. It's really high, though. You need a lot of points for this game to go over the total. And keep in mind, they only got to 163 in the first meeting. And 163 ain't going to cash a ticket here. It's a pass for me. Like, Xavier is not in a great spot. That was an emotional, gutted out win against Providence earlier this week. Now you're playing St. John's. I could see this being a flat spot, a letdown spot. Just the tank is empty a little bit after that overtime win against Providence. But do I have the faith in St. John's to take them? No, I don't. I mean, they failed to cover in 4 straight. They keep on floundering. So it's a pass for me from a side perspective. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, St. John's floundering like that. Xavier, it's a lot of points. And then their defense, I think, even though they probably win and probably cover, that back door, I think, could be open here today. And man, St. John's, I just, it's a struggle with them. So I don't want them either. So pass. Get me out of here.
Cab.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not on this. At home, Xavier's been good 12 of their last 13 games. We know how good they are offensively, especially at home where they're putting up more than 84 points per game. So maybe you look at a team total with them or something like that. More than 84 points per game. I'm off this game simply because I wouldn't want a backdoor cover also. So maybe, yeah, I'm off.
All right, next up, we've got, as we continue along, it is Missouri and Mississippi State. Mississippi State, 3-point home favorites, 139 the total in this game. When you look at Missouri, they're playing pretty good basketball. I mean, they beat down LSU as they should have. They beat Iowa State decisively at home. Solid win in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. Ole Miss, they won and covered on the road. The only bad game was against Alabama, who's beaten everybody up badly. They beat Arkansas. They're playing well. And Mississippi State, they've actually played well the last two games. They actually gave Alabama a tough game, beat TCU at home in overtime, and beat South Carolina 66-51 on the road in their next game. It's been a back and forth series history. Mississippi State's actually beaten Missouri 6 straight times. So maybe that's why, Missouri State favored here a little bit. I kind of lean Missouri, though, a little bit. A team that can score, catching points. Yeah, definitely. The Missouri head coach is really good. He did a great job behind gates, heaven or hell, mansion or jail. Yeah, he's a really good coach. He's done a nice job, Dennis Gates there. So I like that coach. He's like I say, as you could tell, this is just a much better prepared team every single game. Great offensive team. I lean Missouri. I mean, normally I don't like going against a team that's starting to pour it on, that's done well head-to-head against an opponent, but I like the vibe of Missouri. They're catching points. It's always dangerous to be laying points against an explosive scoring team like Missouri. So I lean Tigers a little bit. It'll be a small play only, but I think the Tigers are the way I would bet it here. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I looked at the total here. Thought this was too high for a Mississippi State game. I know they just went over that OT game with TCU, but at home, they dictate the pace. As much as Missouri can get up and down, they're not the same on the road, and we've seen them in conference play. The numbers kind of come down. So I'm on this under 139.
All right, Cab.
Yeah, for sure. So this is an interest. I'm excited to watch this game. I don't think I'm gonna bet it, but I think this is gonna be a fun game to watch. Missouri, like C-Mac said, they fall off on the road, but on the season, 119.8 points per 100 possessions, shooting 58.1%, which is 8th in the nation. They shoot above average from deep, just great offense. And then you flip the side to the Mississippi State defense. They're only giving up 90.9 points per 100 possession, which is 10th in the nation. Their defense ranks 21st in 2-point percentage, holding opponents to 44.7%, 57th in 3-point percentage, holding opponents to 31%. I mean, it's offense versus defense here. So pick which way you want to go with. I could see the argument being made for either side. Mississippi State, you said it, they're 7-0 the last 7 meetings, ATS against Missouri here. So maybe a revenge spot with the Missouri team that's finally a little better than they have been. I can get on board with that. All
right, next up, here it is, the old rivalry renewed, Tobacco Road rivalry, North Carolina and Duke. They hype this shit up every time they play each other, even in a year like this where Duke's been kind of up and down, and same with North Carolina, but it's still Tar Heels and Blue Devils. Get everybody hyped up. We've got Duke 3-point home favorites, 145 the total in this one. I lean to North Carolina just a little bit. They're off the loss against Pittsburgh. I like the way they've played for the last 5. I know Duke's undefeated straight up at home, but they've not been a great home point spread team. And the last 2 home wins were 2-point victories against Wake and Miami, barely winning. And North Carolina is getting 3 here. This could easily be a 2-point game. So getting the +3 is valuable here. So I do like North Carolina a little bit. The one thing that's going to keep this a small bet, though, is the first time they've met since last year. And, of course, we know North Carolina beat Duke and retired Coach K, of course, in the NCAA tournament last year. So, definitely revenge spot for Duke from that. But I still think North Carolina is just the better team. They dummied Duke a couple times last year. They just match up well. So I like North Carolina. But you know what I like even more in this game? Death, taxes, and bet the over in a North Carolina versus Duke game. I mean, all these games do is go over the total every single time. You look at it, 6 straight meetings have gone over the total. We've seen 158, we've seen 175, 154, 164, 174, 165 in the last 6 meetings head to head, flying over the total. And I know North Carolina's been an under machine lately, a lot of unders, but I'm going against that here. The series history has just been all over for Duke versus UNC. So for me, it's over 145 in this game. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, in North Carolina, some games like the Pitt was an under, but these other games have been right around 140. So I'm not buying, that under run in high totals. That's why they've gone under. I think, even 144 is still there. 143.5. I saw the same thing last night. I'm like, over. I'm not even going to mess with the side. I just went with the over.
Yeah, I think the over is the best play. I like North Carolina a little bit, but I think the over is the best play. What do you think here in this one, Kat?
I think that, I think a lot about this game. I think that, let me try and sum it up quick. I think experience will come into play here. This Tar Heels offense is number 29th in adjusted efficiency rating. Fuck, I can't ever say that. And number 18th in turnover rate. So they've done a good job. They protect the ball. Where they've struggled is 3-point, 31.1%, 304 in the nation, which is terrible. But they've got some people who can shoot the ball. They just have to start shooting. And you flip the side on the Blue Devils side. Duke, their offense number 252nd in 3-point range. So they've also struggled there. Number 212 in effective field goal percentage, shooting 49.9%. Their strength has been their height, which you got Baycott down low in this game, who's going to want to show up and play a big game here. I like North Carolina first half plus the points here. I'm not going to worry about the full game. I like North Carolina plus 1.5 in the first half.
All right, liking them in the first half, the Tar Heels in this one. All right, Washington State. You know what? We'll do the next 2 games both, so we get through the games a little quick. We do want to leave some time for Q&A from the chat at the end. So we'll do these 2 games back-to-back here. Washington State, UCLA, Northern Kentucky, and Youngstown State. The next 2 games. We got Washington, USC, 10-point home favorites, and the total in this one. Actually, you know what? Sorry, that's Washington State, I should say, against UCLA. We've got UCLA here, as you would expect, big favorites, 12-point home favorites, 129 the total. And then Youngstown State and Northern Kentucky. Youngstown State, 3.5-point home favorites, 135 the total. I'm off the UCLA game, so I won't even talk about that. I want to talk about this Youngstown State game. This is a tough spot for Youngstown State. That game with Wright State earlier this week was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Went to overtime. It was back and forth. Youngstown State wins it at the buzzer with a shot in, I think, the second overtime or something. And I think Northern Kentucky here, revenge spot. There's a battle for first in the Horizon League. Both of these teams are neck and neck for first in the conference. It's a great game. That's why I put it on the list. It's a big game, actually, in the Horizon League. Northern Kentucky plus the points for me. And Youngstown State's starting to have trouble covering numbers as favorites lately, and we saw it again against Wright State. I like Northern Kentucky. All that emotion, all that energy, physicality in that Wright State overtime thriller. It's going to be a tough spot for Youngstown State here to, have that same energy here against Northern Kentucky tonight. So I like Northern Kentucky. And as always with a Youngstown State game, from a totals perspective, how do you bet the under? It's very difficult. So I'd look over at 135.5 as well. Connor, what do you think of those 2 games? Washington State, UCLA, Northern Kentucky, Youngstown State.
UCLA wins. I just do want to lay the number. Washington State can hang around. I can slow this game down. Both these teams aren't going to get up and down. That's why we have a low total. I think I'll be off. But I agree with you. I haven't bet Northern Kentucky yet, but I was looking at it last night. Youngstown can win. This team doesn't cover. It's just that defense kind of leaves the door wide open. Northern Kentucky's always play them tough, and I think they're in for another battle here today. So I agree with you there.
All right, good stuff. Cab, what do you think?
For you, I'll be quick on both because I got nothing. And are these the last two that we're going to go over before the Q&As and other games?
Oh, there's a few more.
Oh, okay,
more
good.
for
Because I
sure.
was going to say I got a couple bets and some others. So let me be real quick then.
Yep.
UCLA barely got away in the first game here against Washington State. So, I don't think they'll be caught off guard. I don't think they'll be caught off guard today. I think they'll be ready for it. I could only look UCLA, and I'm off the other game. So there, I'll keep those two that quick.
All right, the next two games, Villanova, Creighton, Marshall, UL Lafayette. Villanova, Creighton. Let me start there. We've got Creighton, 10.5-point home favorites, 136.5 being the total in this game. Again, Justin Moore just recently came back. I like the effort and the competitive spirit from Villanova in that last game, even though they just blew it at the end in terms of covering the number. They lost by 9 against Marquette in that game. Villanova's, won both meetings last year against Creighton. Creighton, though, at home has won by double digits each of the last 2 years. It's a tough game, but I still think they're a little undervalued, Villanova, with Moore back, but just a lean for me with Villanova. The other game with Marshall, UL Lafayette, this is a first-place showdown, too, in the Sun Belt. Two of the best teams in this conference, Marshall and the Ragin' Cajuns of ULL. We've got an undefeated home team, and I kind of lean that way with ULL here. Marshall's playing great. Don't get me. Marshall's 7-1 in their last 8 games, but ULL's been just a machine at home. Not only are they winning at home, they're like winning by margin. They're not leaving any doubt. A lot of their home wins have been by like 7 points or more. So, I got to look to the Cajuns there, just getting to pick them at home against Marshall in that game. So that's the way I would go in that. What do you think here, Conor, these two games?
Yeah, I just don't know if I can get here with Villanova. I've been staying off them or just fading them. So maybe I want to see some more, but 10 is intriguing. The other game, I think it's close. I think it's a good one, a toss-up for me. Even with this high total, I think it gets over. I think we're back into the shootout. The Marshall game, I had the App State. It went way up that total the other day, and that was a slow game, the App State. But Marshall won, I think, by 8. I think we see points here. Both teams probably getting the 80s. Over.
Yeah, top 100 tempo, both of them. Great offensive
should
teams.
Be flying.
I agree. I'm probably going to end up adding that total as well, over 158 with the Thundering Herd and the Cajuns. Cab, what do you think?
Man, for Villanova on this team, they haven't done anything against anybody of talent this year. I mean, their best wins are St. John's and Oklahoma probably this year. And that's my biggest problem with Villanova, where I know we all saw that nobody expected how bad they were going to come out this season. It's just the lack of depth with the coaching change. And yeah, I'm not super negative on their new coach, but I'm just saying, like, there was a lack of depth that he was handed with this team. Creighton right now, is hot. 5 straight wins on the road. They're at full strength as a team. They're firing on all cylinders. After beating Xavier last week, I mean, I don't want to get in front of Creighton right now. So I would only be on Creighton. And then for the other one, I haven't bet that one either. I like Lafayette a lot. I might be adding that to my card.
All right, next 2 games here: Oklahoma, West Virginia, Florida, Kentucky. All right, Big 12 and SEC. We've got in the Oklahoma West Virginia game, we've got West Virginia currently 6-point favorites, 140 the total at home. And then with Florida and Kentucky, we have at Rupp Arena, Kentucky 5.5-point home favorites, 135.5 the total. Florida, huge win against Tennessee. Can they keep it going here against Kentucky? That's the big question. Is it a letdown, or do they ramp up again with a big, strong effort? I still think Florida's a little undervalued. I don't know if I'd come back to them. I was on them against Tennessee. If I'll come back to them here against Kentucky, second straight big game for them against a good opponent. But Florida's a little undervalued. I do lean Gators. The other game, probably a pass. I mean, I think West Virginia is certainly starting to play a little bit better, but I'm not ready to lay 6. Conor, what do you think of those two?
That's how I feel. At 6 here with West Virginia. I lean Oklahoma there. The other game, I'm going to take Kentucky. I'm going to lay it here. I think they get it done. Florida off the big win. I don't trust Florida's offense. And that's why this total's crashed. It's gone down 5 points. So, yep, Kentucky.
All right. What do you think here, Cab?
On the first one, for me, I've been against Oklahoma this season, man. I can't get behind an offense like that. Their offense is fucking terrible. I mean, I guess 10th in the Big 12. So there's a couple worse teams in the Big 12, but they just haven't been good. Last game against Oklahoma State, shot 35% from the floor. Again, for me, I can't get behind a team whose offense struggles that much. I'd probably take West Virginia in this game, but I'm off, so I'll move on. I do have a bet in the other one, however. I agree with C-Mac. I got Kentucky in the first half, -2.5. Florida right here putting up 71.5 points per game. I think this is a spot for Kentucky where they're gonna control. Sheway's gonna control it down low. I don't think he'll have a problem down low, even though Florida's good down low. And I think that Kentucky, even though they've sucked at covering the spread, they burn a lot of people here. I think this is the spot where we get behind Kentucky. I got them in the first half, and they have won 11 of their last 13 home games. So and offensively at home, they're averaging more than 80 points a game, which I just went over Florida. I just don't think Florida's going to be able to keep up with them.
All right, next up we're going to do the next 3 games in a row here. Georgia, Texas A&M, Maryland, Minnesota, Washington, USC. Georgia A&M, we got A&M double-digit home favorites in this game. Off a loss at Arkansas, but they've not been great as home favorites. I mean, that's the tricky part, but do you want to back Georgia? They're 0-5 against the spread their last 5 games, and the only win was against lowly South Carolina. And now on the road, they've been eviscerated. So it's impossible. I mean, Georgia I don't want, but I don't want to lay this many with A&M. Maybe it goes over. Texas A&M's trended that way. Georgia's defense is folded, here the last several games. So maybe this game can go over 141. So I'd lean that way with Georgia A&M. Maryland, Minnesota's a pass for me. Lean under. It does feel like a letdown spot for Maryland, and they've not been as good on the road, but Minnesota's pretty bad right now. So I'm going to be off that game. And then Washington, USC. Obviously, USC, you look at them on their home floor, 11-1 this year, but they're laying a big sizable number. They beat Washington State. I mean, they're really rolling. I don't want to step in front of USC at the moment here. And Washington, of course, earlier this year, USC beat them 80-67 in Washington. I don't know what's going to change necessarily here at USC. USC beat them by 10 last year at home. I'd lean Trojans, but numbers in a good spot. What do you think, Cab? Those 3 games: Georgia A&M, Maryland, Minnesota, Washington, USC.
I got you. Yeah, Georgia. It's just too many points for me. A&M's been hot, man. They've won 9 of their last 11 games, 10 of their last 11 home games. They played out well offensively at home. They're putting up more than 73 points per game at home. They make their free throws, which if you're looking at laying a spread, you want to see. But this is at a 10-point spread. The game better not come down to free throws, or you might be fucked. So we don't got to look into that too much. But man, I just feel like it's just too many points for me, man. I'd rather it be at like a 6.5 or 7.5, maybe. I don't know. I just feel like it's too many points here. But like I said, A&M has been hot. When you flip the script on the Maryland-Minnesota game, I'm just completely off this one just because Maryland has, like I think you said, one of the things you said was that they come out flat sometimes, and this could be a spot where they come out flat. So, yeah, I'm off that game. And then we had one other one that you just talked about, Washington, USC. And I got to say something. I had USC. Look, I usually just take spreads. I pay the -110 juice or the -105 or whatever I can get, right? And I keep it pretty consistent with my betting. I had a money line USC first half, money line Arizona first half bet the other day, and USC was down by 13 points with not very much time in the first half, and they ended up going into the locker room up 2. That was fun, a hell of a lot of fun, but it also is why I'm probably going to die of a heart attack before I'm 35. So anyways, I'm off that game. I'll leave it at that. I don't want anything to do with that one. Washington's offense has been pretty good, 106 per 100 possessions, so it's above average. 49.6% from 2, which is a little below average. I mean, USC's been hot, so yeah, I get it, man. This 10. This is another one. These spreads are right on the line. Like I'm not really. All these spreads are 10, aren't they? Like what the fuck? All these games got the same spread. It's all just a little too much for me on these games.
All right, Connor, Mac, these 3 games that we're talking about: Georgia, Texas A&M, Maryland, Minnesota, Washington, USC. What are you liking from those 3?
Yeah, I'm off. A&M there. Maryland, when they hit the road, I don't want them here. It's not, and Minnesota's ugly here, dog. But I look them plus 9.5, and I lean that under 128.5. Yeah, SC with the solid win. I look right back to the over here with Washington. I just don't love it. It's at 142.
Yeah, line moving toward Davidson, Isaiah, probably means Foster Lawyer's playing. That's my guess in that game. So keep an eye on that. All right, next two games, the Oregon-Arizona matchups. We've got Oregon State versus Arizona, and we have Oregon versus Arizona State. Make sure you don't screw that up. All right, next up in these two games, we've got Oregon and Arizona State. We've got pick 'em here pretty much, both sides, 140.5 the total. Oregon State, Arizona 20-point home favorites, 141.5 the total. Oregon State, Arizona is a pass for me, probably. I mean, Arizona could hang a big number, but is Oregon State going to score? It is kind of a letdown for Arizona, though, after the big Oregon win. That was a game that they were in revenge. Oregon beat them badly in Eugene. Arizona got them back on Thursday. You know, they could go through the motions here, and Oregon State actually covered against Arizona at Corvallis. So maybe you hold your nose and take the 20 with Oregon State, because it's definitely not a great spot for Arizona. But other than that, I'm off it. I'm on Oregon in a bounce back against Arizona State. I think Oregon's just a better team. I think they can go into Tempe and win that game after losing to Arizona the other night. Prior to that loss to Arizona, Dana Altman's Oregon team was playing some better basketball. I think Oregon's the side there. I think they can go on the road, win that game against the Sun Devils. What do you think here, Connor, these two?
Yeah, Oregon State, can they score enough? Their team total, 60.5. I think it could get over. They scored a lot that first game. And Oregon State, right, backdoor covered. God, I can't, this team, that is the ugliest dog. They covered the other night, too, against Arizona State.
Yep.
I don't know. I'll decide that late night there. I'd be on Oregon. I really don't. I'm off that game. Nothing for me there. Is that it?
Yeah, by the way, Arizona State did not cover against Oregon State. They won that game, but they barely failed to cover. And I still don't think things are right with Arizona State. Let's be honest. Oregon State's terrible. Oregon's a lot better. I think Oregon's just better than Arizona State. They'll beat them tonight. What do you think, Cap?
So I know I've said this. Oregon and Colorado, I fucking hate those two basketball teams. I'm always going to say it, man. I can't help it. They frustrate me to no end. I did go against Oregon and finally got a win, so maybe they're off my shit list, because Oregon, I couldn't bet on them or bet against them. But I finally bet against them this week and got a win, so maybe I'm off that. You look at the Sun Devils, they're going to be relying on their defense. They're only giving up 96.6 points per 100 possessions. That's 38th in the nation. They're 9th in the country in 2-point percentage, holding opponents to only 43%. On offense, they're pretty good. 113th, putting up 108.4 points per 100 possessions. This is a tough spot, man. I get why you guys like Oregon, because I think they could be the bigger, better team. But fuck, man, I kind of lean Arizona State first half plus a half a point here, but I didn't bet it, so it doesn't matter. And you look at their first meeting, Oregon, just like Arizona got revenge on Oregon, Oregon might want some revenge here, because the Sun Devils, they were up by as much as 29, if I'm not mistaken, and they hit 52.4% of their field goals, 13 for 29 from deep. So it was just a fucking outstanding showing. So yeah, I could see maybe a revenge too for Oregon there.
All right, our last two games of our marquee games, they're both West Coast Conference games. Santa Clara, San Francisco, and of course, the rivalry renewed in the West Coast Conference, the greatest rivalry in the last decade, of course, in this conference. You know what it is, Gonzaga and St. Mary's, once again, head-to-head. We've got Santa Clara, San Francisco. We'll start with that. It is San Francisco here, 3-point home favorites, 151 the total in this game. I like Santa Clara here, honestly. I think Santa Clara could win this game. San Francisco, they gutted that one out. They thought maybe we're going to beat first team to beat maybe St. Mary's at home this year, and it was a great effort. Shabazz was outstanding. Marcus Williams was terrific, bringing them back in the second half, and then they fall short. St. Mary's pulls away late. St. Mary's played their D- game, and they still won, although San Francisco did cover in that game. Tough, I think, for San Francisco to rebound after that loss against St. Mary's. And Santa Clara won't be happy with the loss to Gonzaga. They didn't play well. Defense got shredded. They didn't shoot the ball as well as they normally do. But I think Santa Clara +3 is not a bad way to go here in this one. And then, of course, we've got Gonzaga, St. Mary's, the rivalry renewed. St. Mary's is favored for a reason here. They're the much better defensive team. I don't think anyone's denying that. Gonzaga is a very shaky defensive team. You look at the situation involving St. Mary's. It's a team that's definitely better at that end of the basketball court. But when you look at the situation here with Gonzaga, you don't see them as dogs. I think people are going to be enticed to back them because they're catching points. I like the way St. Mary's is going at home. I like that St. Mary's played not a good game. They were missing shots left and right in the second half against San Francisco, and they still won that game. That's a sign of a good basketball team. I know they've had their issues in the past with Gonzaga, but this feels like the team that's ready maybe to finally beat this St. Mary's team, or beat this Gonzaga team, I should say, even though Gonzaga's won 8 of the last 9. St. Mary's did beat them at home last year. 67-57. So keep that in mind. So I haven't bet St. Mary's. I don't know if I will, but I do lean St. Mary's here. And I do lean a little bit because, we're talking 137.5 in a Gonzaga game. I almost have to bet over by just by default, because Gonzaga's, totals are never that low, 137.5. And I think St. Mary's will shoot the ball a lot better because that was an off game by their standards. Offensively in the win against San Francisco, they really didn't play well offensively compared to what they're capable of. They've still got good scorers like Logan Johnson, like Dukas. Aiden Mahaney's an outstanding player for St. Mary's. I think they get their offense going again here tonight, back on track. So I lean over at 137.5. I understand why they're betting it under initially, but I think it's too low now. Cab, what do you think of these two games in the West Coast Conference?
Santa Clara, man, on the season, giving up 72 points per games, but on this little skid that they've had the last 3 games, they're giving up 86.7 points per game. And I know they just played Gonzaga, so you got to take that into account with that. But still, I don't know. This is a tough one because San Francisco, for me, even though they only put up 59 points in that last game, they did cover the spread. And in their previous 3 games before that, they were putting up 84.7 points per game. San Francisco also, God, I should have this number in front of me. I think they've covered the spread their last 4 games. So they've been a team to back. I'm off the game there. I kind of lean San Francisco, but yeah, I'm off that one. And then when we look the other way at the Gonzaga game, my big thing for the Gales is with the game that we know, by the lines telling us it should be close, like the history tells us it should be close. They can't fucking shoot free throws. They're 317th in the nation, shooting 66.2%. From the charity stripe. And I get scared backing a team full game that can't shoot free throws in a close game. It just isn't something I enjoyed doing. So maybe I'd look at them in the first half to come out strong at home against Gonzaga. And then you don't got to worry about, people going to the free throw line and blowing your cover.
Yeah, that can be the worst thing in the world. Free throw shooting being the demise. All right, we've lost Conor. Conor's had some power issues. I don't know if it's got anything to do with that, but he had some power issues earlier this morning, so that definitely had a little bit of an issue in terms of that. Let me just see how we ended. I don't know how we ended up with the background changing here, but we'll get that fixed in just a sec. But anyway, Cab, go ahead. Any games on the board that we have not talked about that you like?
Yeah, just one. And this is the one that I threw out last week when we were on here. This Utah State team, they're playing Colorado State today. I've been enjoying cashing on Utah State this year. They're a team that I would watch close attention to. They're playing really good offensively, even on the road where they're scoring more than 76 points per game. They take advantage of their free throws, making 73% of their free throws. They rebound the ball well. They move the ball around well. I like Utah State a lot. I've had a lot of success betting them this year in the first half. Colorado State also has struggled defensively, giving up 71.9 points per game. They gave up 83 in their last game. I think Utah State should roll here. I got Utah State first half -1.5.
All right, good stuff indeed. All right, Connor Mack looks he isn't back with us because he's frozen right now. Poor guy. It's not his day. It's not C-Mac's day, God damn it, with the hydro and camera cutting in and out. Unbelievable. But let me just run through what I'm liking. I mean, obviously, it's a huge card. It's always a ton of games in terms of the games that we haven't talked about. So I'll just go through rapid fire what I'm liking here. Chattanooga, Western Carolina, I like over the total. I like VMI +9 against Mercer. Drexel, I'm on Monmouth again, +7 against Drexel. They're my little point spread engine that could of late. Monmouth +7 against Drexel. Charleston, Delaware over. I kind of lean Delaware there. Charleston's not covering lately. Delaware, I think, at home as a dog might be worth a look in that game as well. Elon, I'm back on the Phoenix, plus 6.5 against Northeastern. There's another team that's been covering numbers for me lately, for sure. Buffalo, Western Michigan over. What else have we got here? East Tennessee State, Samford over. Florida International, UAB over the total. Jelly Walker's back, of course. Kind of a letdown spot maybe for UAB after beating Florida Atlantic, but I like the over there. I'm off the side. UTEP and Western Kentucky, I like the over there at a low number. I like James Madison laying a short number at App State. I cashed with them against Old Dominion the other night. I'm coming back to the well with James Madison again today in that game. What else have we got? Southeast Missouri State, Tennessee Tech over. I like that. Let me see. Edwardsville, Little Rock over as well. Tennessee Martin Lindenwood over. Morehead State, Southern Indiana. Southern Indiana is another team I always bet over the total. So there we go with those two games. I think Idaho plus 7 might be worth a look against Sacramento State. They took Portland State down to the wire the other night. They've been starting to cover as dogs. Bradley, Northern Iowa. I lean Northern Iowa as a home dog there. I probably will bet that as well. St. Thomas, Denver over. Wofford, Furman over. Couple overs in the Ivy League. Cornell, Penn. Brown and Harvard, I think, can go over the total. That's alone. And I like Brown there in that game. Brown's been covering lately. I like Brown plus the points against Harvard. Harvard let me down. Harvard let the whole fucking chat down yesterday against Yale. Bad performance by them. Everybody and his brother on Betting with the Bag was on Harvard yesterday. Harvard fucked up yesterday, Harvard. Now we're going against your ass today. I like Brown in that game. What can Brown do for you? Cover some numbers, put some money in your pocket. Hopefully that's the case today. Central Michigan, Toledo over the total. Portland, Pepperdine over the total. We talked about Marshall, ULL. I like ULL in the over there. People mentioning North Texas and Rice. Be careful with Rice. This is a revenge spot for North Texas. They actually lost at home to Rice. They are absolutely better, North Texas, than Rice. And I think North Texas is showing up here today against Rice. And I think, that was a bad loss for North Texas. They're not great extending margins, so I understand that a lot of games are close with North Texas, but I'd be careful about taking the points against North Texas with Rice today. It is a revenge spot for North Texas, who are the much better team, especially the much better defensive team. So I actually lean to the mean green there, -5 in that one. Daby Cab mentioned Utah State. Hard to argue with that because Colorado State certainly had their share of woes. No doubt about that. What else have we got here? I kind of like Pacific plus 14.5. That's a lot of points for Purdue, or not Purdue, for BYU, I should say, to be laying. A lot of points there. I like Seattle, New Mexico State over the total. What else have we got here? Southern Utah looks cheap against Utah Tech. I think Southern Utah -4 wins that game against Utah Tech and covers the number. Loyola Marymount against San Diego. I kind of lean Loyola Marymount there. In that game. Again, another number that looks a little short. I'm starting to cash a lot of these overs lately with Eastern Washington. So I'm going back to the well. Eastern Washington, Portland State, over 153. And then on the added board, Bryant in the over against New Hampshire. I kind of like Wagner +4 against Fairleigh Dickinson. Stonehill, I lean to them as a money line road favorite against St. Francis, New York in that one. What else have we got? I'm on Chicago State against Hartford. Chicago State laying 7. They're laying points this time, but I think they can get the job done there. Asheville and Upstate, lean Upstate +4. Queens and Austin P over the total. And what else have we got here on the added board? I think that's it. Did I touch any of the other games No, I did not. So that's it. That's it for the added board for me. So, yeah, not as much on the added board for me today compared to previous games.
Not
all
as
right.
much.
Not as much. And I still, went on for like 3 minutes rhyming off.
I love
actually,
it.
the added board was only like 2 or 3 games. It was the main board. I had a shit ton of bets. Yeah.
The more college basketball I do, Ian, the more I'm like, my volume's going up a little bit because it's like, God damn it, if I lay off my leans, they hit every fucking time. So,
that's another over for me. Detroit and Fort Wayne, JPZ. I forgot about that. Detroit and Purdue, Fort Wayne. Yeah, I like over the total there. All right, good stuff. That is the card. We've lost Conor Mack. I don't know if we'll get him back. We're wrapping up the show in a couple minutes, so we might not have him back. But nevertheless, we will be back with best bets from Daby Cab and yours truly coming right up And by the way, the horse racing stream is already underway with Jimmy the Bag and crew at the Aqueduct, all those racetracks. So make sure you tune in if you want some horse racing action throughout the day as well. Manscaped and Southtown 101 coming up, and then we'll do best bets. Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101 and manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping with promo code PubSports. All right, it is time for best bets here to wrap it up here on this Saturday edition of the College Basketball Pub Hub Show. Cab, where are you going for best bet today?
All right, so I'll shorten it up because last week we were told three most, so I'll go with three. Just Kansas first half on the money line, -120. I do think that there's a hangover from Iowa State with what happened at Texas Tech. I know sometimes we like to look at teams to bounce back after losses. Losing a 23-point lead with 10 minutes left in the game like that, not a good thing. I think there could easily be a hangover from it. I know how good they are at home. I'm on Kansas in the first half. Money line, you don't got to even lay any points with them. I like Wake Forest in the first half against Notre Dame, -1.5. And then since we're keeping it at 3, let's go with Miami first half plus a half a point, -105.
There you go. A trifecta of best bets for Daby Cab. I like UMBC. I have no opinion on the Southern Miss game there for those asking. Southern Miss hasn't been as good from a point spread standpoint lately. That does concern me as far as taking them in that game. All right. Best bet for me on this Saturday card. Let me just see here. I'm going to rock with Monmouth. Monmouth has just been a machine. An absolute friggin' machine from a point spread perspective after that dreadful start. They're getting 7 against Drexel, and Drexel's not even that good. So you're getting 7 with a home underdog, a Monmouth team playing their best basketball of the year. They're still not a great team, but I mean, compared to what they were in October, November, or not October, but November, December, they've improved leaps and bounds. It's a young rebuilding team early in the season that's learned to play a little bit better, and now they've been undervalued for several games straight. I think they get another point spread cover, keep this torrid streak going. Monmouth +7 against Drexel for my best bet here for this Saturday card. That'll wrap up this edition of the College Basketball Pub Hub. Conor Mack, obviously, we've lost him, but we thank him as well for joining us as well as he always does. Monday to Thursday, Conor and I with Net Profit, and then Cab will be on Friday with Conor Mack on the show, and we'll all be back next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, for another edition of the College Basketball Pub Up. For Cab, I'm Ian Cameron, and Conor Mack, of course. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Cash some tickets. We'll see you again next Saturday, same time, for the College Basketball Pub Up right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Palooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the Southtown 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. How about Palooza 2?